Hey everyone, Joe Youngblood here from PAWrestling.com. Tonight I'm going to preview the District 1 AAA West tournament hosted by Springford High School, which combines at the district level the Pac-10 and the Central League. I'm going to go through every weight class, give you the top six in every weight class, let you know who I believe is going to qualify for regionals out of each weight class, and at the end, give you my prediction for the team champion, the runner-up, and third. I may even go four deep with this tournament. I'll give you some insight of some wrestlers that are competing, which weight classes are going to be fun to watch. And this West tournament is going to have some great matches, some rematches from the Pac-10 tournament, maybe some rematches from the Central League tournament. So I hope you enjoy this. And as I said, all my other previews, check out the other previews. If you think my picks or my predictions are crazy, speak out on the forum, create conversation. This is meant, like I said, as always, this is meant for fun. So don't go too hard on me on the forums. I hope you enjoy it. I said it before and earlier in some of the other previews. This has been an absolute privilege to do this job this year with Mike Leister and work for him with the website. And the feedback we've gotten has been nothing but positive. Except for Wrestler 157, I know who you are, saying that it's a bad thing that other districts can scout our guys. What we can do is promote the sport of wrestling, and that's what we're trying to do, is grow the sport more, get more people out, get more people interested, get more people wrestling, get more people following it, and make it great. Make it as great as all these fans that are diehards like we are envision it to be. And it's one of the things that's awesome about the wrestling community is the fan base is so passionate, and I'm fortunate enough to be part of it. So enough of me talking. I know you guys are want to hear these predictions, or maybe you don't want to hear them. Again, this is all for fun. This is my prediction. This is what I feel at the time. So let's sit tight. Let's get ready for 106 pounds. Again, I talked about the 145 pound weight class at the East tournament with Martaccio, O'Brien, Stone, Thomas, and Shalafu, like 5 tough kids. We don't quite have 5 here, but we got 4, and these 4 guys have been going at it all season long, and it's gonna continue here. So Brandon Meredith is the 1 seed out of the Pac-10. He was a champ. He's a sophomore. He's 27-6. He spent a few one or two cycles as the number 1 ranked 106 pounder in our region. The 2 seed is Gavin Hollingsworth out of the Central League. He's a freshman from Garnet Valley, 24-8 on the season. You might recognize the last name. His father Eric was the head coach at Strathaven. Did a real nice job there. A real good guy. Brought that program back to respectability. Now is no longer with Strathaven. He's on the staff at Garnet Valley with Rocco Fantazzi. Again, his son, coach's son, in every way, shape, or form. Very solid, very technical, very sound wrestler. The 3 seed, Luke Resnick from Owen J. Roberts, the runner-up in the Pac-10, junior with a record 28-6. He also spent a cycle, maybe 2, as ranked number 1 in the region. He's been in the top 5 all year. And the 4 seed is Michael Greenwald, the runner-up from the Central League. He's a sophomore with a record of 13-8. So, like every preview I've done, if you haven't watched any of the others, I pick it up in the quarterfinals. I don't. You'll be able to figure out who wins from the pigtails based upon who I talk about in the quarterfinal matches. Talk about the championship bracket, go through that, and then go down and put all the pieces in as far as the constellations go. With that said, let's get ready to go here. Brandon Meredith. We'll see Corey Blue from Methacton in the quarterfinals, and he'll make quick work of him and get himself into the semis. Michael Greenwald will get the winner of Matt Wild and Anis El Fernani from Marple Newtown. Matt Wild will win that. Matt Wild has wins over Meredith, has wins over Resnick. Matt Wild is as tough as they come. He's very capable of, you know, winning big matches. He's just got to work on being a little bit more consistent. You'll see when he gets outside this tournament to the regional level, you'll see he wrestles opponents that he that don't know him as well as Meredith and Resnick do. That he'll really flourish. Real tough kid, as I said before in broadcast interviews with him. He's a kid that had to wait his turn in this Boyertown lineup. He had to wait because Jacob Campbell for 2 years was at 106 pounds, and he had to wait. And he was a part-time 106er last year, and then Jacob Campbell came down with a growth allowance and bumped him out of the lineup. So his first year as a true 106 pounder too, because he was always a little bit on the light side. He's a true 106. It's his spot, and he's flourishing. He's got a record of 32-10. And with Boyertown's schedule, and you look at 10 losses, you need to be scared of someone that wrestles Boyertown's schedule that has 30 wins and 10 losses. So with that said, Wild's going to beat Greenwald and set up a rematch with Meredith in the semis. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Luke Resnick gets Joseph Brabant from Upper Darby, and Resnick will beat him, get into the semis. Jared Coons, the fourth place out of Pac-10, beats the Central League 5 and gets into the quarterfinals. And I think Coons, tough kid, comes from a traditionally tough program, and great coaching staff. Not many kids in the room, but a good room. Very good coaching staff. Sam Walters, Chris Sheets, Brent Fiorito. Just name a few. Like, they're all young guys. They're energetic. Sam Walters has the most obscene haircut in all that I've ever seen. And I think, like I said in the broadcast for Pac-10 Finals, he used the word offensive. Yeah, his haircut's pretty offensive. And they're just well coached at Upper Perk still. Tom Hans might be gone, but the foundation he laid in that program is not changing. He's got a bunch of guys that he coached now taking over for him, and they're going to do good things there. So I have Coons beating Hollingsworth and setting up an all Pac-10 semifinal. And this time around, I have Wild beating Meredith to get to the final, and Resnick beating Coons again to get back there. Now, Wild beat Resnick earlier in the year when Resnick was number 1 in the region. I have to say, Matt Wild beats Resnick again. He just wrestles him very well. I'm not saying he's better on occasion, but he does a good job of wrestling well against Luke Resnick, and it's just what it comes down to. Going into the wrestleback rounds now, Coons drops down. We'll see Mike Greenwald from Haverford High. Coons will win and put himself into that 3rd and 4th place match and qualify for regionals. And Meredith will drop down and see Gavin Hollingsworth, and Meredith will beat Gavin Hollingsworth, set up a Meredith and Coons matchup, which I think Meredith wins. So your top 6 of 106 goes Wild, Resnick, Meredith, Coons, all Pac-10 sweep there, and then Hollingsworth and Greenwald coming in 5th and 6th. Again, this is doesn't have the most depth of any weight class in District 1 this week, and of district tournaments this weekend, but it's close. And it all comes from those guys from the Pac-10. I mean, they all know each other. Coons is kind of like the, almost the forgotten one. He's capable of sneaking up on any one of these guys if they're not careful, and they overlook them. Moving to 113 pounds. Number 1 seed from Boyertown, a junior record 27-3, Jacob Campbell. And Jacob Campbell is medal at States. He's 2-time medalist at States. He's the 1 seed off winning the Pac-10 last week. The 2nd seed from the Central League is Jacob Miejas from Upper Darby, a senior with a record of 26-9. Had the privilege of seeing him wrestle several times this year, and again, definitely a tough wrestler. The 3 seed is Jarek Svanson from Upper Perk. He was the runner-up to Campbell. He's a sophomore with a record 20-10. And the 4 seed is Ty Dortone from Pencrest, a junior with a record 21-7. So, breaking down this record, this bracket from the quarters on. Jacob Campbell will see Austin Raleigh from PV in the quarters, and will make his way into the semifinals by beating him. Ty Dortone will see Chase Banyai from Pottsgrove. Dortone getting the win and getting himself into the semis as well. Jarek Svanson will see Sean Scandal from Ridley in the quarterfinals, but Svanson will win and punch his ticket to get there. And Dirk Nugent from Springford, freshman with a record of 20-11, will see Jacob Miejas in the quarterfinals, with Miejas getting the win and making it 2-2, two Pac-10, two Central League wrestlers here in this semifinal bracket. Campbell will beat Dortone and Miejas will beat Svanson, and Campbell beats Miejas in the final. Looking now to put the pieces together for the rest of the bracket as far as third and fourth goes. Svanson drops down the top half of the consolation bracket. See Chase Banyai from Pottsgrove, and Svanson will get the win there. And Nugent wrestles back after losing the quarterfinals and gets Dortone. And I think just based upon Dortone being around a little bit longer as a junior over the and Nugent being a freshman, I think Dortone gets the win there. And Dortone and Svanson match, which I think Svanson from Upper Perk wins. So your top six here at 113 pounds in the West tournament: Campbell Boyertown, Miejas from Upper Darby, Svanson from Upper Perk, Dortone from Pencrest, Nugent from Springford, and Banyai from Pottsgrove. Moving on to 120 pounds, the 1 seed comes from Boyertown. David Campbell, he's a junior. He's got a record of 34-8. Jacob's twin brother. David Campbell is, another tough, solid kid in this Boyertown lineup. He's the 1 seed. Matt Marino dropping down to 120 from 126 really changes the game. He's a returning state qualifier. He was first to Central League. He's a junior. He's got a record of 30-4. That's Matt Marino. The 3 seed is Hunter Mitch from Springford. He's a senior. He's got a record of 29-7. And the 4 seed is Zach Elfernani from Marple Newtown. He's a junior, record of 24-8. So picking up in the quarterfinals, David Campbell will see Davis Huth from Ridley, and Campbell will win. Elfernani will see Brennan Stocku from Pencrest in the quarterfinals and will win. Hunter Mitch will see Vince Tavani from Haverford High, and Mitch will win. And Matt Marino will see Thomas Reef from Upper Darby, and Marino will win. Looking at the semis, you have Campbell, Elfernani, and Mitch and Marino. Campbell beats Elfernani to reach the final and punch that ticket for regionals. And as much as Mitch will try to slow down Marino, Marino's on that different level, open it up, and will keep Mitch from slowing it down too much. Marino wins. With that said, I think Marino then beats Campbell in the finals. Again, Campbell is very, very, very good, and I just think Marino's just a little bit better right now. He's been there. He's been through the grind. He's made it to the state tournament, and Campbell hasn't yet. He has his sights set on doing it this year and getting on the podium, but Marino's done it. With that said, let's look at the consolation bracket. Mitch drops down in the top half, and he'll see Stocku, and Mitch will beat Stocku to qualify for regionals as a senior. Tavani will wrestle back after losing the quarterfinals to Mitch, and we'll see Elfernani. Elfernani again getting the win over Tavani, and Mitch beating Elfernani to take third place. So your top 6 looks a little bit like this: Marino from Garnet Valley, Campbell from Boyertown, Mitch from Springford, Elfernani from Marple Newtown, Tavani from Haverford, and Stocku from Pencrest. So there's a little bit more depth from the Central League at 120 pounds, with 4 of the top 6 coming from the Central. 126 pounds. Number 1 seed Dan Mancini from Owen J. Roberts, a freshman with a record of 25-8. Had a great Pac-10 tournament, was named MVP. Just had a great match against Lucas Miller, beat him 7-2. His counter offense was on point. It was a pleasure to watch. We were lucky to cover that match. Again, he's had a great freshman season. A few losses here, 2 losses at King of the Mountain, 2 losses at Escape the Rock, 2 losses at Conestoga Valley. Um, those are 6 of his 8 losses right there, and to King of the Mountain and Escape the Rock are 2 of the tougher tournaments in the state. So he's definitely got a promising future, and to knock off Miller. And it's actually his second time he's done it this year. He beat him 2-1 in the dual meet earlier in the year. Julius Starkey from Lower Marion from the Central League is the 2 seed. He's this junior, the record 25-4. Lucas Miller, senior, 31-8. 2-time state qualifiers, 5th in the state last year's, won 150 career matches, no slouch, and he just got upset last week. And like I said, Boyertown senior, and then Noah France from the Central League, the second place guy from the Central League, senior, 20-3 on the season, is the 4 seed. So this bracket breaks down, picking up in the quarterfinals. Mancini will see Nick Minuti from Upper Darby in the quarterfinals. I think Mancini wins pretty easily there. Kyleaf Underwood from Potts Grove will see Noah France in the quarterfinals, and although, I think Underwood will give France all he wants. I'm just going to give the edge to Noah France and winning this one, just because he's been there. He's been made in deep runs before in tournaments. And looking at the other quarterfinals, Lucas Miller will get Vince D. Michelle from Springfield Delco Jr., who's 25-10. I think Lucas Miller wins, gets himself to the semis. And Jimmy Frank from Springford wins his pigtail, comes out, and wrestles Julius Starkey from Lower Marion. And as much as I want to pick Frank, I think Julius Starkey has a little bit too much for him, and Starkey gets to win, only to lose to Miller in the semifinals from Boyertown. And Mancini beats France to set up a rematch between Miller and Mancini from the Pac-10 final a week ago. And I see it going different this time. I just feel that Miller is going to shore a few things up in his game, and he's going to have a better game plan. I think the Boyertown coaches are going to have a great game plan for him as well, as far as wrestling against Dan Mancini. The O&J coaches, I know they're going to have a game plan for as well, but you can't. It's very difficult to beat someone 3 times in one season, and the reality of it is, Miller's good. He's good. He's very good, and you don't win 150 matches by fluke, and you don't make it to states more than once by fluke. You don't make it on the podium. He was a state semifinalist a year ago, so I think you're getting what I'm saying here. It's very hard. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's going to be a very difficult task. Miller wins there. Reluctantly, I pick Miller to win at 126 pounds. Putting the pieces back together, the rest of the puzzle, and here are the consolations. Starkey drops down to the top half and sees Underwood. And again, Starkey's a little bit too much for Underwood. Qualifies for regionals by making it into that 3rd and 4th place match. France drops down and sees Frank, and France beats Jimmy Frank to get in as well. So, and then to have the All Delaware or All Central League final, a consolation final, I have Starkey beating France, just as he did last week in the Central League final. And your top 6 goes Miller from Boyertown, Mancini from O&J, Starkey from Lower Marion, France from Strathaven, Underwood from Potts Grove, and Frank from Springford. Moving on to 132 pounds, 1 seed from O&J Roberts, a junior with a record of 31-6. We have Ryan Resnick. Resnick, will be competing his second time at 132 pounds. He wrestled most of the season at 138. Decided to make the drop. It might work out for him in his favor. He was a returning state qualifier, but with Wade Cummings making the drop to 126, kind of opened things up at 132 a little bit. I mean, Zach Trampy's still there. Ryan Vulak's still there. I talked extensively about the 2 of those in the preview of the East tournament. So Resnick at 32, and he's a big 32. He's the 1 seed here. The Central League champ Robbie Hazard, a senior from Lower Marion with a record of 22-5, is the 2 seed. The 3 seed, is Garrett Mauger, Boyertown senior. He's got a record of 29-12. Absolute hammer on top. Is the 3, and the 4 is Nick Politi, returning state qualifier from Garnet Valley. He's a junior. He's 23-12. Don't sleep on the record. He's running some tough kids this year. When you qualify for states, you get a target on your back, and everyone wants to wrestle you, wants to prove that that they can run with state qualifier. And at times maybe hasn't wrestled to his ability or to the best of his ability. So I'm hoping to see him put it together here for the postseason run again. Picking up in the quarters, Resnick get Jameer Ryder from Radnor, and we'll beat him and get into the quarterfinal or to the semifinals. I apologize. Nick Politi will await the winner of Dylan Henry and Sasha Reiger. Henry will win this match from Methacton. He'll give Politi all he wants, and I wouldn't put it past Henry to win this match, but I'm going with the guy who's been there, and that's Politi. So Politi winning, setting up a match with him and Resnick in the semis. Garrett Mager gets Tyler Forbes from Springfield Delco, a sophomore who's 21-14. Mager wins that and makes his way to the semis. And Oscar Grenese from Springford gets out of that pigtail only to get Robbie Hazard, and Hazard beats him and gets himself into the semis. So we have Resnick, Politi, and Mager and Hazard. Resnick beats Politi, Mager beats Hazard, and sets up a rematch from last week's Pac-10 final. I think Resnick wins again. Resnick was just a little bit too much for him. I did notice between periods when it was Mager's choice, Coach Ventresca, I believe it was him in the corner, signaled for him to go top, but then ultimately gave Mager the decision, and Mager chose to go down, and he never got a chance to get on top. And Mager's, he is a hammer on top. I watched him. I broadcasted the match when he got on top of Zach Trampe and turned Trampe. Don't get me wrong, Trampe reversed him, got out, but he still turned him nonetheless. So that's one of the best guys in the state. So that he's turning right there. So it's not put it past him that he couldn't turn a guy like Resnick. I know Resnick will do all he can not to get underneath him. In fact, when it was Resnick's turn for choice, he chose neutral. So let's put together here in the consolations. Hazard drops down. We'll see Dylan Henry from Methacton. And I said Dylan Henry, don't put it past him to lose to Politi. Well, in this case, he's not going to lose to Henry or to Hazard. I have Henry beating Hazard, qualifying for regionals, and I have Politi beating Forbes from Springfield Delco, and then Politi beating Henry. So your top 6 here at 132 pounds: Resnick from Owen J, Mager from Boyertown, Politi from Garnet Valley, and Henry from Methacton. Hazard from Lower Merion and Forbes from Springfield Delco rounded out. Apologize for the yawning. Like I said, it's after midnight here, coming to you live from my dining room. And let's move on to 138 pounds as we push through this preview here, so we can get it on the website and get it out to everyone. JT Cooley is the 1 seed from Boyertown Junior, 28-14. The 2 seed, and this is just where they land in their spots. Not necessarily he's the 1 seed over Colin Cronin. Just that's where the Central League 1 goes to the bottom. Colin Cronin, the 2 seed, undefeated junior from Upper Darby. Kid you can't say enough good things about. Good kid, hard worker, great wrestler. Tough as nails. Part of that Upper Darby team that did great things this year. The 3 seed Logan Pennypacker, senior from Pottstown, with a record of 26-5, and the 4 seed is Dave Wood from Garnet Valley, the junior, with a record of 16-9. Let's pick it up in the quarters. JT Cooley and get John High School from Ridley, and for all intents and purposes will beat him and get into the semis. Matt Kriebel from Springford will win his pigtail, and then in the quarterfinals beat Dave Wood from Garnet Valley and get himself into the semis. Logan Pennypacker will beat Ryan Stocku from Pencrest and get himself to the semis. And Max Sokolov from Strathaven gets the win over Stone Bislin from Owen J. Roberts, only to draw Colin Cronin and get sent to the consolations because Cronin's going to win that one. Sets up Cooley Kriebel up top and Pennypacker Cronin. For as good as Pennypacker is and as much as he'll battle with Cronin's just way too slick, way too technical, way too skilled for him. Cronin wins that match, I think, pretty convincingly. Cooley beats Kriebel and sets up a Cooley-Cronin match. And as much as I like JT Cooley and as exciting as he is at times, Cronin's going to be too meticulous, too slick, and too calculated for Cooley. He's going to shut down any of the stuff he tries, and I think Cronin wins convincingly here at 138. Looking at the bottom half, the constellation part of the bracket, Pennypacker drops down. We'll see Dave Wood from Garnet Valley. Pennypacker wins that match. Kriebel comes down, sees Stocku from Pencrest. Kriebel wins that match, and Pennypacker beats Kriebel for third. And our top six will look like this: Cronin from Upper Darby, Cooley from Boyertown, Pennypacker from Pottstown, Kriebel from Springford, Wood from Garnet Valley, and Stocku from Pencrest. So again, Pac-10 stealing 3 of 4 there, but Cronin definitely the class of this weight class. So moving on to 145 pounds, again another one that has some tough kids in it, and we'll see in a second how it pans out. Brian Wise, the champ from the Pac-10. He's a senior. He's got a record of 23-3. The Central League champ Eric Hutchinson from Conestoga, a junior with a record of 31-2. The Pac-10 runner-up in the 3 seed position, Bryce Reddington from Methacton, a junior with a record of 24-3. And the Central League runner-up, Devin Moore from Strathaven, a junior with a record of 23-6. Those are your top 4 seeds. Talking about what happens in the quarterfinals, Matt Mortar from Garnet Valley will win his preliminary and will face off against Brian Wise from Pottstown. Wise will win that match, get into the semis. Chris Berry wins to see Devin Moore from Strathaven. And again, I'm going to go with Chris Berry on this one. I'm going to go with room. I'm going to go with strength of schedule. I'm going to go with coaching staff. Those 3 things. Would carry, in my opinion, Chris Berry ahead of Devin Moore. So again, in my opinion, you don't have to agree with it, but I think Chris Berry, super, again, their kid's super tough on top, very athletic, not afraid to mix it up, not afraid to go for broke, just like his teammate Hunter Vogels we'll talk about at 152 pounds. Bryce Reddington gets Noah Strentz from Haverford High, junior with a record of 20-12. I think Reddington wins this one and gets himself into the semis. Jacob Folk from Upper Perk takes care of Simranjit Singh from Upper Darby. And then Folk gets Eric Hutchinson, and I believe Hutchinson wins that match over Folk. Moving on, look at the semis. You have Wise and Berry and Reddington and Hutchinson. I think Wise wins. Wise doesn't necessarily always impress me, but what he does when push comes to shove and it's crunch time, I feel like he performs. He does what he needs to do to win. So I respect that and I recognize that. So I think he beats Barry here in the one semifinal, get to the final. And then I'm going to say Reddington beats Hutchinson because Reddington, I think, has some unfinished business in the final with Brian Wise, which we're going to get to in a second. Bryce Reddington and Wise had a great match in the Pac-10 final. Reddington and with Wise winning, Reddington beat him in the dual meet. I think Reddington gets back at him here. This is one of those rivalries. Right, it's one of those rivalries for what time we have left with it. It's going to go back and forth. So I think we get a Pac-10 rematch here in the finals at districts, and I think Reddington beats Wise here. Looking down to the bottom and looking at the wrestleback, Hutchinson will drop down on the top half of the consolation bracket, and he'll catch Devin Moore from Strathaven. Hutchinson will win that and get in that 3rd and 4th place match. And then a great match between Folk and Barry goes down to go to regionals. And again, think Barry having some confidence off the win over Devin Moore. Barry beats Folk and punches that ticket and qualifies for regionals as a junior from that Boyertown program, but then ultimately loses to Hutchinson from Conestoga. So your top six will look like this: Reddington from Methacton, Wise from Pottstown, Hutchinson from Conestoga, Barry from Boyertown, Folk from Upper Perk, and Moore from Strathaven. Moving on to 152 pounds. This has a match I'm anticipating seeing. I think it has the makings to be an entertaining match, and I'll talk about it when we get to it. But Mason Pennypacker, by way of winning the Pac-10 title, is at the top of the bracket. He's a senior with a record of 27-4. The bottom half of the bracket champion of the Central League is Max Livingston. He's a junior with a record of 28-9. Hunter Vogels, runner-up in the Pac-10, a junior, record 24-7. And a fourth seed position from the runner-up in the Central League from Pencrest, David Stevens. So picking up in the quarterfinals, Brody Brush beats Sayre Campbell, but then loses to Mason Pennypacker in the quarterfinals. Pennypacker makes his way to the semis. Mike Lockhoff from Upper Perk wins his pigtail, but then loses to David Stevens from Pencrest. Stevens makes his way to the semifinals. Hunter Vogels awaits Chris Sciarino from Springfield Delco, and Sciarino ends up being the third place finisher out of the Central League. He's got a record of 31-4. I think there was an upset somewhere along the way in that Central League tournament that got to that. I think it's going to be phenomenal. This is another two matches in here that'll be phenomenal. Another phenomenal matchup. I think Vogels wins, though. Again, I'm going to go strength of schedule and room and coaching staff as all reasons as to why I'm picking Vogels. No disrespect to what they do at Springfield Delco, but you can't really compare the two. Robbie Peters wins his preliminary bout, or his pigtail bout, against Jason Zollers, only to see Max Livingston. Max Livingston will beat him and make it into the semis. The semis, Pennypacker versus Stevens, Vogels versus Livingston. Again, Pennypacker beats Stevens to make his way to the finals, punches ticket for regionals. This Vogels-Livingston match has the makings of something that can be a lot of fun to watch. Two guys that kind of go at it. Vogels, love his style, love the fact that he just, not that he doesn't care, that he just goes out there with to score a lot of points. He's out there to just score more points than his opponent, and it's entertaining to watch. I appreciate guys who go out there and want to light the scoreboard up. I don't like to see the 1 or 2 point matches. I mean, if it's a 15-14 match, yeah, I'll take a 1 point match. But if it's a 2-1 match, unless it's a lot of phenomenal scrambling and stuff, where neither guy can score each other, that's a different story. I think Vogels beats Livingston, and I think Vogels gets revenge on Pennypacker. I think Vogels gets the district championship after Pennypacker had the Pac-10 championship. Looking down at the consolation bracket, Livingston drops down to the top half. He'll see Brody Brush on the way through. If the Brody Brush wrestles back, Livingston wins and qualifies for regionals. Sciarino wrestles back after losing to Vogels. Stevens drops down, and Sciarino beats Stevens, and Livingston beats Sciarino. Again, that's a match that can go 5-5, and if it was a best of 10, each guy winning 5. Your top 6 looks like this: Vogels from Boyertown, Pennypacker from Pottstown, Livingston from Upper Darby, Sciarino from Springfield Delco, Stevens from Pencrest, and Brush from Lower Marion. 160 pounds. Michael Felix, champion from the Pac-10 out of Upper Perkiomen Valley, senior, 25-7 on the season. Dan Iredale from Conestoga. He's one of those guys, again, doesn't get a whole lot of love all he's done is gone undefeated this year. He's a senior. He's a tough wrestler, and he just doesn't get the I don't know, like, I don't know what it is. Maybe people don't respect the Central League as much, or don't respect Conestoga. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't get the credit he deserves. So Dan Iredale, I'm giving you the credit you deserve. You've had a nice career here. You're 31-0 right now. You deserve some credit for what you've done, and I don't think that you've rightfully gotten. Runner-up in the Pac-10 is Brendan Marion from Methacton, a junior with a record of 21-8. The runner-up in the Central League is David Moore from Strathaven, a senior with a record of 27-4. So we'll pick up here in the quarters. Michael Felix wrestles Brett McGill after Brett McGill wins over Carl Kamenusa. Felix wins, gets his opportunity in the semifinals. Sadiq Mustafa wins over Riley Brown. And then I have Mustafa, again, tough kid from Pottstown. I feel, again, I'll cite strength of schedule, partners in the room, quality wins. Mustafa beating David Moore to get to the semis. Brendan Marion gets Mark Peters coming off of the having a bye as well. And I'm going on a limb here. I'm going to say Mark Peters beats Brendan Marion to go to the semis. It depends. I know Mark Peters, I believe Mark was one of the two Peters that was injured. I could be wrong. With that said, I'm just still going with Peters regardless. And Ryan Finn below that in the pigtail gets a win over Tommy Redman. And here is where people think I lose my mind. Ryan Finn has not wrestled well as of late. I can know one thing from experience. Jeff Madden is going to have Ryan Finn ready. Jeff Madden is, again, I don't use the term Yoda because I already compared Brad Silmperry to Yoda. I don't know who I could compare Jeff Madden to, but he is going to have Ryan Finn ready for this tournament. And I'm going to pick Ryan Finn to beat Dan Iredale. I know I just gave Dan Iredale a ton of credit for what he's done. I got to go with Finn here. He didn't wrestle well at Pac-10s. Was off his game a little bit. But the fact of the matter is he's been as high as 3 in the rankings and well-deserved. He's 23-4 in the season. And 2 of those losses came in at Pac-10s. So we revisit these semifinals. Felix and Mustafa. Felix wins, makes his way to the final, and I have Finn beating Peters, and Finn wrestling Felix in the final, with Felix getting the win. So Felix beating Finn to win a championship at 160 pounds here at the West tournament. Putting together in the wrestle back, Peters drops down in the top half of the bracket and catches David Moore, and Moore beats Peters to qualify for regionals. And Iredale wrestles Mustafa. Iredale wins, puts it on that 3rd and 4th place match, wins that match over Moore, and the top 6 looks like this. Felix from Upper Perk at 1, Finn from Pottsgrove at 2, Iredale from Conestoga at 3, Moore from Strathaven at 4, 5, Peters from Garnet Valley at 5, and Mustafa from Pottstown at 6. Rolling into 170 pounds. One of the guys who's, again, in this tournament that has been just wrestling phenomenal since the late season loss, kind of reset him, and that's Steve Rice. I'm going to talk about him a little bit more as I go through the bracket. Rice, by way of winning the Pac-10, is top of the bracket. He's a senior. His record is 30-3. Liam Frank, by way of winning the Central, is in the 2 seed from Pencrest, a senior with a record of 29-1. Elijah Jones in that 3 seed spot from the Pac-10 runner-up, Boyertown sophomore, record of 22-11. And Zach Newton from Strathaven, junior, with a record 24-5 in the 4 seed. So looking at the quarterfinals, Stephen Rice gets Alec Mong from Haverford High and beats him. Zach Newton gets Isaiah Mays from Pottstown after Mays wins his uh, pigtail, and Mays knocks off Newton as well to get into the semis. Elijah Jones from Boyertown gets Cade Heverly, the third place finisher out of the Central League from Ridley, 22-9. Jones is scrappy. He's 22-11. Again, way more quality wins, way more quality competition, and top to bottom better staff. I know Coach Fabry personally at Ridley, and does a nice job. Did a nice job at Westchester Ruston with Brad Harkins and them. I just think that top to bottom better coaching staff, and Jones he's a scrappy wrestler. I watched him beat Stephen Rice earlier in the year and just have a good game plan and good head on his shoulders for a sophomore at 170 pounds. Mickey Cohn getting a win over Gartman, only to lose to Liam Frank in the quarterfinals. Your semifinal matchups are Stephen Rice and Isaiah Mays, and then Elijah Jones and Liam Frank. I have Rice beating Mays and Frank beating Jones, and I have Rice beating Frank. And even though Frank has been ranked ahead of Rice at times, again, who's he wrestling with in the room? Who's got the better partners in the room? Who had the better coaches? Who had the better schedule to prepare them for this point? And just looking at Pencrest's schedule compared to Springford had a tougher schedule. Rice is a little more battle tested in my opinion. Plus, he's been there before. He was a returning state qualifier. I feel like he's wrestling out of his mind. I did not expect him to major decision Elijah Jones, in the final of the Pac-10 tournament last week, but he did, and he was just dominant. So, I have Rice beating Frank here, which is a mild upset for some. The bottom there, the consolation bracket, Jones drops down, gets Zach Newton. I feel he beats Newton to qualify for regionals. And then Mays wrestles Heverly from Ridley, with Heverly beating Mays and Jones beating Heverly again to take third. So your top six at 170 pounds is Rice from Springford, Frank from Pencrest, Jones from Boyertown, Heverly from Ridley, Newland. I was reading that wrong. It's a little bit late, like I said. Newland in fifth and Mays in sixth. So come down to the last few here. 182 pounds. Greg Harvey, by way of winning the Pac-10 championship last week. He's a senior, like I said, from Boyertown, record 43-5. The champion from the Central League is Jack Horvath from Radnor. He's got a sophomore record of 20-7. Nick Douliakis is the 3 seed. Owen J. Roberts Jr. with a record of 16-8. And the Central League runner-up is Nate Brennan from Ridley, a senior with a record of 20-10. So picking up in the quarterfinals, Quintrell from Pottsville will get the win. Face off against Harvey. Harvey beats him. Chase Smith from Springford gets the win, but loses to Nate Brennan from Ridley to set up a semifinal between Harvey and Brennan. Douliakis gets Ryan Mortimer for Garnet Valley. I think Douliakis wins that match, puts himself in the semis. Tanner Romance gets out of his pigtail match only to lose to Jack Horvath from Radnor and set the table for the semifinals. Harvey, Brennan, Douliakis, and Horvath. I think Douliakis beats Horvath, and I think Harvey beats Brennan. Set up a rematch of last week's Pac-10 final in which Greg Harvey absolutely destroyed Nick Douliakis. I expect more of the same. I believe he took him down 15 times, something in that effect. It was a total domination on Harvey's part. Looking to the consolations, Horvath drops down to the top of the consolation bracket from the cross bracket, where he will most likely see Chase Smith from Springford, and he beats Smith. That's a sophomore wrestling a freshman, but sophomore with just a little bit more experience. And Romance wrestles back after a loss in the quarterfinals to wrestle against Brennan, and I think the senior has a little bit too much for the junior from Phoenixville, Tanner Romance. and Horvath beats Brennan to take third. So your top six here at 182 pounds is Harvey from Boyertown, Duliakis from O.J. Roberts, Horvath from Radnor, Brennan from Ridley, Smith from Springford, and Romance from Phoenixville. 195 pounds. The champ out of the Pac-10 is Xavier Farizzi. He's a senior with a record of 7-1. His lone loss coming to Joe Doyle in the district duels quarterfinal round. And 2-seed Brian Kennerly from Upper Darby, junior record 34-3. Very physical, very athletic, 195 pounder. Doesn't wrestle like a 195, wrestles like a 160. The 3-seed Brody O'Connell by way of second place in the Pac-10 championships, a senior from Boyertown, record of 25-14, and Matt Weir, second place in the Central from Haverford High, is a junior with a record of 14-11. Farizzi gets Ryan Rushton in the quarterfinals and beats him. Brower comes out and wins and beats Matt Weir from Haverford High, and he beats first Keith Blair and then beats Matt Weir and makes it out to the semis against Farizzi, creating a rematch from last week. Brody O'Connell waits from a bye, gets Eric Holsey, and takes care of him and gets himself into the semifinals. Skylar McLeod from Pottsgrove wins his pigtail, only to get Skylar McLeod only wins only to get Brian Kennelly from Upper Darby, who will win and go into the semi. So in our semifinal matchups are Farizzi versus Brower, O'Connell versus Kennelly. I'm going to say Farizzi beats Brower again. Not as close as it was last time when we went to a ride out. And I think Kennerly will convincingly beat Brody O'Connell again. Beat him somewhere around along the lines of 9-3 or 9-4 earlier in the season in District Duels finals. I think Kennerly does more of the same. He's just a little bit too strong, too fast, too athletic, too skilled for some Brody O'Connell. Brody needs to brawl with someone. That's where he really excels. So moving on to 220 pounds. Last two weight classes here we're previewing. By way of winning the Pac-10 with his 100th pin in the final, Jordan Wood. He's a senior from Boyertown, record 39-1. His lone loss coming in the finals of the Beast of the East. The one champ from the Central League is Cade Lemaire. He's a junior from Conestoga with a record of 22-3. Connor Mitchell from O.J. Roberts is a senior, 25-7, sitting at 3-seed spot. And Anthony Goodman from Marple Newtown, junior at 21-9, is sitting at 4-seed spot. So let's look at the quarterfinals. Jordan Wood will wrestle Nair Williams and will get the win there. Anthony Goodman, or first Michael Madugno, who's 25-10 from Perk, will win the sorry about that, just had a mental lapse. But Madugno will beat Anthony Goodman from Marple Newtown. Going to the second half of the bracket, or bottom half of the bracket, Connor Mitchell will get Leo Cassidy, a junior from Ridley. He's got a record of 21-10. Mitchell wins that and gets into the semifinals. And Joseph Donahue from Ithacton, a junior 11-9, gets out of his pigtail match to wrestle Cade Lemaire. Lemaire beats Donahue. Looking at our semifinal matchups, we have Wood versus Madugno. We have Mitchell versus Lemaire. Wood handles Madugno, and Mitchell beats Lemaire to create another Pac-10 matchup from last week. Again, with Wood winning. He's pinned him several times this year and throughout their careers, and he's ever pinned Mitchell with the same thing twice. We'll see if he keeps that streak alive and uses something different yet again. All right, so moving on to 285 pounds. We have, by way of winning the Pac-10 championship last week, Tommy Killeran. He's a Boyertown senior with a record of 33-7. Central League champ is Peter Augustin. His lone loss is to Tommy Killeran in the district duels semifinals. Augustin from Upper Darby is a senior with a record of 34-1. The 3 seed, Matt Lepore from Springford, he's a sophomore, record of 20-12. And the 4 seed, Michael Karras from Conestoga, senior, record of 13-5. So, looking at the quarterfinals, Killerin will get Scherfel from O&J, and he will beat Scherfel. Matt Kenny from PV will come out and win to wrestle Michael Karras. Karras will win that match. Down below, John Sheldon gets a bye to the quarterfinals where he'll meet Matt Lepore. Matt Lepore will beat him. And Matt Lepore beats John Sheldon. Tony Ellis will beat Lee Holbert, and then lose to Peter Augustin of Upper Darby in the quarterfinals to set up the semifinals of Killerin versus Karras and Lepore versus Augustin. Killerin will beat Karras to set up a finals, himself back up in the finals the second week in a row, and Augustin will beat Lepore to set up a rematch with Killerin and have a chance for revenge. However, Killerin pinned him last time, and I think Killerin will beat him again. Killerin's just tough. He's got state medal in his trophy case. Augustin's just not there yet. He's very good, very athletic, very physical, very aggressive heavyweight. However, Killerin just a different level right now. I hope Augustin proves me wrong, but I can't. I got to go with the facts right now. Looking at the final bits and pieces of this preview, the constellation of this weight class, Lepore drops down the top half of the constellation bracket. Scherfel wrestles back from that constellation at quarterfinal loss. Scherfel beats Lepore in the Consi semifinals, the senior and the sophomore. Scherfel beat him on the season. And I just think Scherfel gets the job done again, and Scherfel punches that ticket to get him to regionals. Sheldon wrestles back. Karras drops down and sees him. Karras beats him. And then I have Scherfel beating Karras to take third at districts and get out to regionals. So your bracket here, 1st through 6th, goes Killerin, Augustin, Scherfel, Karras, Lepore, Sheldon. So, folks, there you have the individual portion. Sorry for a few times I was zoning out there. It's sometime after, it's just 1:02 a.m. right now on Thursday morning. Not making an excuse, I was just zoning out a little bit. I apologize for the yawns. It's been a long evening. The story of what happened tonight, how we got here with the rainstorm and everything, will be posted to the forum so you can see what Mike and I went through earlier in the evening to make this happen. But again, it's our pleasure to do things like this. Going back to talking about the West, team race, again, making a safe bet. I made the safe bet on all of them so far. Boyertown. Boyertown's going to win this, and I think they're going to win it convincingly. Now here's where it gets 2, 3, and 4 can go almost any way, and it just basically depends on where the cards fall and what where the breaks fall for these teams. But I'm going to go on and say, O&J is runner-up this week. They were third to Springford last time. I just think O&J has more guys equipped to go further in a tournament than Springford does. Springford had a lot of guys place, but Springford guys, in my opinion, and please, Tim and Tom, don't get mad at me for saying this if you do watch this, I just think right now the guys that O&J has in the tournament are well equipped to go further than the Springford guys are. Springford has a lot of wrestlers, but just not guys that are going to go far. They got Rice, they got Meredith. Lepore has a chance, but Hunter Mitch, Frank's got a chance. Kriebel's going to get out, but I just think O&J's going to have more of an opportunity. Just my opinion. And then Upper Darby's the other team. Same thing. Upper Darby has a lot of wrestlers at the district tournament, but the key is like how many of them are going to win matches, how many are in the pigtail round that aren't gonna, their day's gonna be over in the first round. So I'm going to safe bet for the win with Boyertown. And I'm gonna stand behind O&J 2, Springford 3, Upper Darby 4. Again, I'm not perfect. I've been wrong in the past before. I'm not afraid to be wrong in the future. As always, feel free to slay or go nuts on my predictions. Like I said, it's just about 1:02. It was 1:02 a.m. Thursday morning. Hopefully, they're up on the website by midday tomorrow or midday Thursday evening. Again, as always, I hope you enjoy it. The work we do, we're just trying to enhance the site, enhance the experience, and publicize the sport. So, with that said, this is Joe Youngblood signing off. I appreciate everything. I appreciate all the feedback from the fans. Everyone take care, and I'll see some of you fans at the District 1 West tournament this weekend. Take care and have a good evening. Good night.